So what happens when the artist behind the world's most celebrated graphic novel, Watchmen, teams up with Revolution Software to make an adventure game in the SCUMM engine? Let's find out.
Let's go!
So I want to establish up top that point-and-click adventure games typically aren't my bag. There are a couple of reasons for this. First, I'm someone who typically prefers gameplay over story, and adventure games tend to focus on telling a story over gameplay. The second reason is that the puzzles tend to be stupidly obtuse. I can generally deal with and enjoy a story-based game as long as there isn't a bunch of bullshit keeping me from the story, but on most occasions I'd rather just watch a movie if I want a good story. So when there's obtuse, annoying puzzles in the way, I often get frustrated and quit. That being said, I still try and give everything a fair shot, so here we go. The story takes place in a dystopian cyberpunk future and opens up with a comic book style cutscene in which you, Robert Foster, are taken from your home in the Gap, basically untamed wilderness, by security forces to the city. On the way to the city, the helicopter transporting you crashes on the top floor of the city, and from there you have to find out why you've been abducted and reach the ground level in order to escape. One of the things I really enjoyed about the story is that it all takes place within 3 floors of the city, and within a time span of a few hours, so it feels very contained and personal. I don't know, I've just always been a fan of smaller scale narratives. If you want a good example, check out the movie Buried. The entire thing takes place in a coffin. The story also has quite a few twists you won't see coming, and the main character and his robotic sidekick Joey both have a nice character arc. It also contains many of the themes typical of the cyberpunk genre, such as technology ruling society and an overbearing and all-seeing security presence. However, some of the story elements clashed with some other elements and created some tonal dissonance. For instance, the first couple areas of the game feel much darker than the last few, even though what's occurring in the last few is of much darker subject matter. A lot of this comes down to art and music choice, but it was noticeable enough to be a little jarring. While we're on the subject of music, let me say that I know this game is 20 years old and you can only fit so much stuff on a floppy disk, but this one track that loops through almost the entirety of the game isn't fitting enough to begin with, and man, you will hear this track roughly a million times. Since I was already somewhat frustrated with the obtuse puzzles, this really started to grind on my nerves after a while. The thing is, the track's instrumentation isn't wrong, it's just a little too high of a register to really fit the tone of the game. If they just pitch shifted it down a little bit, I think it would have been a lot less grating and fit the overall atmosphere a lot better. So the art was created by Dave Gibbons, the legendary comic book artist who worked on titles such as Watchmen and Judge Dredd. It's definitely a standout feature of this game, and even with the pixelated early 90s graphics, it manages to stand out and have a distinct feeling. The locations of the cyberpunk city you explore feel oppressive and remind me of the heavy metal comic The Long Tomorrow. Each character has a distinct personality, mostly through their appearance and the kind of hammy but charming voice acting. The game also has plenty of comic relief during the lighter moments as well. The game is filled with sarcasm and wit, and Robert and Joey had many memorable exchanges of dialogue, and a couple that even managed to make me utter a chuckle. There isn't a whole lot that I can say about the gameplay that I didn't touch on in my previous statement on why I don't care for adventure games, but I guess I'll give a basic summary. You walk around the world speaking to various characters and adding items to your inventory, with which to use in decreasingly obvious ways to solve puzzles. Solving these puzzles will typically give you access to a new area, along with some extra story tidbits and new people to converse with and puzzles to solve. One of the mechanics that I did appreciate was that you can talk to Joey in different rooms in the game, and often receive advice or some kind of information on what to do in said room. However, minor hints can only get you so far in this kind of game. Overall, Beneath the Steel Sky is a game that has many good individual elements, but at times has trouble making them one cohesive whole. I didn't particularly find the gameplay to be enjoyable, but point-and-click adventure games aren't just my thing. I'd have to say that it's probably worth playing just to see some cool Dave Gibbons art and experience the loops the story throws you for in the latter half. Hey guys, I just want to say thanks for watching, and you can follow me on Twitter at @theoreticalgame, spelled with a 3, not an E. Theoretical Game was already taken. And if you like what I do and want to support me, consider checking out gameoverload.co.uk. You can get cheap PC games there on Steam, and if you use the code TheoGaming10%, you can get another 10% off and support what I do. So this month, I'm going to recommend Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. If you use the 10% code, you can get it for like $10. It's really cheap there, so go check it out.